21.
Aman, Anurag, and Manish, the workshop has started and we already have many folks join the room. Please say hello to everybody and feel free to take over the stage.
Hey, thanks, Annie. Hey, everyone. Welcome, everyone. Good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are. Please say hello in the chat if you can hear me. Oh, that's great. Today, we're going to talk about how we can build social networks with dgraph. And to conduct this workshop, I have Aman with me, who is part of dgraph Cloud team. And we have Manish with us, who is the CTO and founder of dgraph Labs. And myself, Anurag. I'm part of the core dgraph team. We are really happy to bring you to this workshop. But before we start, I would like to reiterate a few guidelines for you. Some housekeeping. The session will be recorded and published on dgraph YouTube channel. All the participants will receive the recordings over email. Use Q&A in the Zoom feature for your questions, and we will take the questions first come and first serve basis. We really want to keep this like very interactive, so feel free to use Q&A session for that, and we'll have Aman and myself and Manish happy to answer all your questions. We will monitor the chat, and all the attendees feel free to engage with each other on the chat. However, we do have a code of conduct, and please be respectful of the group. So let's begin.
Before we begin, do you want to just quickly say hi, Aman, to everyone?
Yeah, hi guys. Great. We're glad to be here and welcome to dgraph Day.
Hey, Manish, do you wanna say
yeah, I should probably. Hey guys, welcome to this workshop. I'm just gonna be watching in and helping out wherever I can. It's really Anurag and Aman are running this thing, but the hope is that after this workshop, you guys get a better understanding of how you can build a social graph with dgraph, and run some of the common queries that you would expect from any social network app. So hope it would be very educational. I'll be watching the chat, so feel free to ask questions, and we'll just take it from there. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Manish. Thanks. Okay, really excited. Let's begin. Yeah. So agenda is very simple. So we go over the background of the social network, how do they come about, and how to model them. Then we look at the dgraph schema, like how the social network yield themselves naturally through the dgraph types, and how do you model relationships. And then we take dgraph cloud on a spin, and we like really build the social network, like a small social network, add users, relationships, and define some queries. Let's go ahead. Cool. So social networks are basically like highly connected network. You have like a bunch of nodes, and then you have like a bunch of edges. Edges typically represent relationship between these nodes. So if you think of like Facebook as a social network, you have people, and then you have their friends, and then how do they interact with each other is usually via post, comments, and reactions. And then each of these social network yields itself to a natural visualization as a graph with nodes, where relationships are modeled with edges, and then you have not just like friendships, but like if you have like a post, then you have like an author of the post, and similarly, if you have a comment, then you have like the author of the comment and also the comment on a particular post to which that comment was made. Yeah. By the way, so before on that, we have all the like the code samples, schemas, etc. in this repo, which is there. It's live, open source, so feel free to take a look at that. Okay, so when you go about building any social network, what are some of the features which are like really essential for any social network? So if you think about it, you have few must-haves. You have like a user relationship creation and retrieval. Whenever you build a social network app, you want your users to create an account, connect to other people on that network, and you want to be able to retrieve those relationships. Second is notifications. So if I'm on a social network app, I want to be notified of the people I follow, the topics I follow, the topics I'm interested in, and the comments I made or the posts I made. And the third is timeline generation, which is essentially the feed of your feed or the wall of your social network app. So these like three are like really essential pieces or the building blocks of any social network app you want to build. And then there are some nice to have features, which for instance, different social networks use. So one is degree of connectivity. So if you are a person and you have like friends, then how many friends do you have? How many nodes you are connected to? So for instance, how many followers do you have in Twitter? And but this is something like nice to have. For instance, in Reddit, if you have like an account on Reddit, then people do not really care about how much connectivity you have on Reddit. Similarly, you have again a nice to have feature, which is degree of separation. So that basically means that on a social network graph, if you have like two nodes, then how far one is across the other via traversing the graph. So for instance, LinkedIn's connection hops. So I'm connected to Elon Musk by like 4 hops. So essentially the degree of separation. So today what we'll do is we'll define all of these and we'll bring queries so that you can use the dgraphs GraphQL query language to build these queries and use dgraph backend to build a social network, which essentially has all these features. So first, let's take on how does a typical schema of a social network would look like in SQL. So if you want to, like based on these must-have features, if you want to build a social network, what you would do essentially be building bunch of these tables. So it could be there could be like one table of user with its characteristics, and then there would be another table of post, the post that user created, or the tags which user is interested in. And then to link these tables, you would have foreign keys essentially, which would basically tell you which post is created by which user and which tag interest which user, so on and so forth. So essentially your schema in a SQL would look like a bunch of tables. So it's very nice. I mean, it's kind of like an obvious and general way how you go about writing a schema in SQL. Just there's one loss of visualization which I feel is that you can't visualize this as a graph anymore, because for you to understand how the users are connected, you'd be looking at foreign keys in the tables. So that is where the dgraphs schema come in. So let's take exactly this schema into how a dgraph schema would look like. Yeah. So the same schema in dgraph or in GraphQL would look like this. So you would define a type user, you would have its attributes, and then you would have similarly other types like tag, post, comments. And then you would have these nodes has interests as edges which are linked to other nodes. So for instance, nodes like a friendship is linked to an array of users. Similarly, has interest is linked to an array of tags. So this user is interested in such and such tags, or this user is creator of this post. And then you have like a reverse edge in which it says that this post was created by this particular user. And then you have this @ID field, which essentially gives you which acts as like the ID identity of these types. So unique identifiers. So for instance, if you are building a social network, you would say that a person can have only like single email. No two different users can have same email. So you would add like an ID field on the email, and that would be your unique identifier. Yeah. So this is how how would the schema like this same schema look in GraphQL. Okay, so I think after that, let's start building one. I think we have all the basics. So I have like a backend ready for this workshop, dgraph-based social network on our dgraph cloud platform. So this is our schema builder. So let me just put the same schema which I just discussed here, right? So just let me. Yeah, so it's exactly the same schema, and we are ready. So we do a deploy. Great. So schema is ready. So let's start adding some nodes to it. So it's just that simple. You just added the schema and you're good to go. So now let's explore the API Explorer. So in this API Explorer, let's add some mutation. So it would like by default give you some of these useful mutations which are generated by default by the GraphQL interpreter in dgraph. So for instance, yeah, you can just create a user Anurag at dgraph.io, and this be the Anurag, and yeah, cool. And let me just while returning, let me also return the first name and the ID, right? So this would create a user. Great. So if you note here in this output, you get a node 0x4. So this ID is essentially a dgraph's unique identifier in the backend, and this is kind of like a unique identifier for each of the node that dgraph creates. So we keep a track of this because in other queries we'll need this. We'll have to refer this particular node. But for that, let's first like add a few more nodes. So let me just create another node and let that be Aman. And yeah, and let's see. Great. So it's like the next node. So we have like two nodes now. And yeah, so now let's add a relationship between them. Let's add like a nose. Okay. So for that, what I can do is I can go to an update user, this, and I can do on an ID, or instead I can just do it on an email, because email is a unique identifier for our schema, and I can set it to yeah, I can set the so what I'm here trying to do is filtering the particular user Anurag at dgraph.io and setting its nose edge to another user whose email is Aman at dgraph. And we just finish this. Great. So this has been updated. So let's do a query to see if everything is working fine for us. Query user email first name and nose email first name ID. Great. So we have two nodes, Anurag and Aman, and nose is like a unidirectional edge right now. So we have Anurag friend Aman here mentioned. So we have like the edges here, right? So great. Now let's create a post, for instance, right? So let's do another mutation. Add post, and so the star here is kind of like what all things are required definitely for when you are adding this node, right? So title is a compulsory field here. So welcome to right? And we have the hash creator is a compulsory field. So we'll put ID as so Anurag is creating this post, so 0x4. This is Aman's ID, but yeah, we know Anurag's ID was 0x4. And what else? Do we want to keep an tag to it? Okay, let's have a tag from post, and let's add content. Right. So based on that, So it added like a num UIDs and great. So we have a post. So let's see how does that look. Very let's see the content, ID, and creators, email, and first name. Great. So we have a post whose node is 0x6. Content is how are you all doing, and then this is the creator because I referenced it while creating the node. So essentially now we have two nodes in the graph, and we have like one person who created a post. Yeah. So we are building our social network. Let's see what else do we have. Cool. So now that we have like few nodes and like a post, etc., we do have like the building blocks of a social network. So now the next step, what we want is notification, degree of separation, user timeline, and the custom actions. So here, when like any developer or I am like thinking of building a social network, I would want these queries to be to have these queries so that like I can build these features like the notification and the field out of the box, and dgraph does just that. I think at this point we'll take a small break and see if we have any questions, and then I'll hand over to Aman to take you on building these queries. Yeah, Aman, do we have some interesting questions?
No, not right now. But yeah, thanks, Anurag.
Yeah,
I'll take
being
over.
very
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, let me stop sharing it.
Yeah. Thanks, Anurag. So yeah, so as till we have discussed, so we have built a very trivial case where we are creating some users, we are defining relationship between those users, and we are creating posts, and in a similar way we can create the comments. But that's not how social network used to work or supposed to work. They are more complex, they have more use cases, and that's what we're gonna talk about next. So we have selected these 4 important use cases, and this will show like how easy it is to build things, to build systems in dgraph. So the first thing is notifications. It's a really important feature for people to get notified whenever some action happens. The degree of separation, which defines how much connected you are from to other person. Timelines, because it's social network, you all want to be aware about what's happening in other people's life or other people's posts, so timeline is really important. And the last but not the least, the custom actions. So perfect, let's get this one by one. So notification. So when we call notification, so what we want to say is whenever some actions happens, I should be notified. That's the expectation with any social media network, right? So dgraph supports subscriptions and authorization. So when I say subscription and authorization, it's really cool. So let's see it in action. Okay. So here we have this schema. So it's the backend. Just a sec. Let me. Just a sec. All right. Anurag, is it working there?
What's up?
Yeah. So yeah, things look a bit tricky there, like something is happening. I'm not able to load the.
Do you want me to?
Yeah, sure. Sure.
Okay. Yeah. Sure. Share screen.
I'll let you ping the SRE team.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So where were we?
Yeah.
So we are building notification systems, right? Cool.
Yeah, no, please
Okay.
continue. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, let me ping this up. So you have this already, and we want to add like the subscription part of it, and then the subsequent notification, right? So for that, we essentially need to make changes to the schema. So right now the schema is very simple. So let's add some subscription etc. to it, right? So for that, I have this schema part already. And yeah, cool. Let's see what happened here. So we defined the enum of reaction type, which is basically like a like, support, or celebrate, whatever you want to do to a post. And then in the type reaction, we add two directives, as you call them in dgraph, which is with subscription and authorization. So what does with subscription do? With subscription adds like a webhook to the type on which it's called. For instance, it's called here on the reaction type. And whenever there's a modification on that reaction type's nodes, then it sends a message. And what does this auth do? Auth essentially acts as like an authorization layer after the subscription, which basically does that. If you don't want to listen to all the subscriptions, then you can basically use authorization to filter. So for instance, I am interested in notification only to the post which I wrote. So I am not interested, and also as part of security, I shouldn't be getting these notification to the post which I didn't create. So that's what auth does here. So if we look closely at the query, you in the auth directive, you mention the query and the rule. The rule says here that user ID, which is for instance me, uh, using whose credentials I'll be like pulling this data, should give me the subscriptions only if the creator matches me, like which means that the post has creator which is equal to the user. So yeah, essentially that. So this particular query and the authorization just adds the filter on top of your subscription, and then what it kind of returns is just the ID, what reaction was created, when was this created, and post, and the user who created it, right? So let's see. Let's okay. So let's kind of like deploy the schema. We just updated this thing. Cool. Now for adding subscription, we want to use GraphQL client. My go-to GraphQL client is Altair. Okay, so this might not be visible right now because I am just sharing my Chrome, right? Let me share the full screen. I think there would be slight gap. Let me share again. Yeah, so Aman, can we see the Altair here?
Yeah. Yes, you can.
Cool. Yeah. Okay, so guide me a little if I get lost here. So I have these Altair here, and then I am looking at, I want to add a subscription. So for that, I need a URL here, right, of this. So I take this, I go to my Altair screen, and I add a subscription URL here. So here the thing to note is that you since you want to open a WebSocket subscription, you remove this HTTPS and you add your WS here, and this whole
WSS.
URL WSS, right? Yeah. So this whole URL remains same otherwise. Subscription type is WebSocket, and now the connection parameters. So this essentially basically is for the user who is trying to get the notification, right? So let's be a user. So Anurag created a post, like the Anurag user created a post. So this would be for Anurag. The auth, the JWT token should be for the Anurag user. So let's create like a JWT token. I think another thing which we forgot to mention here is that whenever you are using auth, you need to add another piece of code here. So that would be this tgraph authorization key, which is essentially tells you the verification key, secret, what should be the header, and what should be the namespace it should match to, and also the algo used for encryption, right? So we want this namespace to create the JWT token. Let's create this and let's go here. We just want this, we don't want this. And here we want user. I think Aman, this needs to be a JSON in itself, right?
Yes, yes.
So you have a user, and then I supply the UX, the UID for that user, right?
Right.
Correct. So I think the UID
0x4.
for was 0x4, right? Yeah. For Anurag, we had 0x4 UID, and then we add the secret here. So this particular secret is same as what you write in your schema here, this secret. So this could be like it's just like a verification key. It could be like something more complicated as well. But for the sake of simplicity, let's just keep it as secret. Cool. So we added this. This is the JWT we kept. The algo remains same, and right. I think this is what we want. So we got the JWT token. Let's go back to the WebSocket, this thing, and let's add. So header we added there was authorization. So we want to add the same header. Yeah. So this becomes this, and that's about it, right? Aman?
Right. Right.
Correct. So we do a save, and should I be getting, or I should be adding a subscription request here, right?
Yes. Yes.
But for that, I need to like add the URL here. Okay. So I added, but is it like, has it started listening to the
No.
subscription?
So you have to write
right?
the request and the subscription query. Yeah.
Got it. Yeah. So let me just grab that URL. So this remains this, and let's add subscription. Then what are we listening for here, Aman?
Query reaction.
Query reaction.
ID,
it would have,
take post, ID, reaction type.
so what reaction we are creating, right?
Yes. Yes.
And
User,
what
reaction
else?
type.
In here itself.
Oh, right. It's
No.
reaction. Yeah. Right.
Okay. It's reaction, right? And then the user who created that reaction, right? And her ID and maybe like the email, probably, right?
Right.
That's all, right? That's all we need.
Yes. You can also take post just to confirm that, yeah, it's okay.
Correct. Yeah. So we can add like a post here, and post would have its own ID and title, probably. Right? Cool. So we have the subscription query, reaction ID, this. So let's subscribe. Cool. So we are subscribing and we don't have anything right now because nothing has happened. Cool. So, but we are subscribing. You can see the running socket here, and let's see what happens if when someone likes the post. So let's go back to our API Explorer and let's do some mutation. Let's add reaction and let's see what does reaction mean. So we added some created at timestamp, could be anything. Then which post are we adding? So what was the ID of the post that we created?
0x6.
0x6. So this was like, I think the welcome to
Yes.
dgraph table,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Cool. And Aman wants to like this post, right? Because Anurag created. So user would be 0x5.
Yes.
Right? And what kind of reaction? Let's say we celebrate. That's all right. And then we just remove. Right. So let's do. Great. We got it. And then if you go here, why is this not working? We should have had like a subscription here, right?
Did you add the correct token for 0x4, right?
Yep. This is the correct token, right? And this is this, and the secret is this, and the subscription URL is this, and authorization. The save, and this is the query. 0x4 is I'm subscribing to the post of 0x4. Let me just
Stop it and
check
run it again. Yeah.
Yeah, so very mentioned, but why does this not?
Check post, like which user has created it. I think there is discrepancy there.
Okay, is it? Okay, let me just check who created that post. So let's see, content ID title. Oh, we want the has creator as well, right? Yeah, so Anurag created it, and this is this, and who all do we have in the very folks? Let me just add. Who all do we have in the nodes? What all? Yeah, we have 0x4, 0x5. So ideally, if I do add like a mutation,
And
then it should
check the schema. Did you update it correctly?
definitely. Let me just see. Description, user ID, type reaction, type name, reaction, created at
All
post.
right.
Oh, I think is that that auth is missing line here.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I see. I think yeah.
You copied it.
Oh, yeah, I copied it, but I forgot to add it here. Yeah.
Deploy.
Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, I think this should be it. Great. So do I have to subscribe again or?
Yeah, you have to subscribe again and just run the queries again and it will work.
Okay, so I will stop here and send a request. Okay, so I'm subscribing. Oh yeah, so you see the reaction here of celebrate, right? Now it comes up fine. So yeah, so it works. Sorry about like little hiccup there from my end. But you see the 0x9 is the reaction node and you celebrate and let's do one more just to be sure. So we go again to the API Explorer, we go to history and we go to add reaction. And this time we want to like, and it's the same person who's liking it again. yeah, so you see we got another subscription working here. So if you see, we have now reaction, celebrate, post, but we have like as well. Great, so this works, right? Cool. So our notification are working. Nice. So what is the next step for us? Degree of separation. So degree of separation, like I think Aman mentioned, is basically how far away you are in a graph from different nodes. So this is something which is not very easily expressible in a GraphQL spec. So in the GraphQL specification, you don't have like a shortest query query defined in this GraphQL spec. So, but in dgraph we do have a shortest query inbuilt, which we can run directly on the graph, right? So, how do we use that power of dgraph within the GraphQL? And for that, we have introduced something called as custom dql. Okay, let me just quickly add that part to our schema, and then we can go over how does that work. Right, so let's go back to our schema, and we want to add like another type of query which it wants to kind of support. So we just add that here, and we add closing query. Okay, let's take a look at what does this query do. It takes here what I'm defining is like a custom query degree of separation. It takes two user emails, user A email and the user B email, because email is the unique identifier, so we are happy to deal with it. And then it returns array of user, which is essentially a path from user A to user B, and the length of the path would just be all the users which come in between, right? And then this custom directive is how you tell GraphQL that I am passing a dql function, and it has to be interpreted as a dgraph query language. So inside the custom directive, we add a dql key and a string, which is essentially a dql query. So how does this dql query look like? It takes like a user A email, it takes user B email, and then it gets a UID of A using this filter. It gets a UID B using the second filter, and then it just calls the shortest path query over the nose edge. So whenever you specify a type and an edge in like a field in GraphQL, dgraph converts that schema into type.edge. So you had like a nose edge. So inside dgraph, it becomes a user.nose. So now this, what does this query says? It says that give me a shortest path from UID A to B over these edges. So for instance, if you had like multiple edges, for instance, friends or family, so you could traverse them separately. You could find a path, a shortest path among all the friends, or you could find a shortest path among only the family, so on. So that's just the power of dql. You can specify the edge here over which you want to traverse. You can specify multiple edges over. So you could also say that user.family, user.nose, and then it would find the shortest path in both of those edges. Right? So you get this path, and then you essentially fetch all the UIDs of this path and map them to the initial query which you wrote, like query degree of separation. So here we one thing to notice that this query of this key and this key should be identical, because that's how the GraphQL knows how to match one to other, right? So you are just assigning first name, last name, email. I don't think we have this one, and I don't think we have this one. So this can great. So yeah, I think yeah. So this is something that works. But now in the nodes which we just created, we just have like two nodes. So for that, I have like a let me first update this schema. Cool. And now I have the data already prepared, which does actually make these queries meaningful. So how I would do this is I'll go to Redel. Instead of like doing a live load kind of a thing, I'll do a mutate here and directly copy all the data, the sample data which I have. Great. So let's take a look at how this data is. So like I told you, right, that in dgraph interprets the type and the fields as type.field. So here I am interacting directly with the dgraph, bypassing the GraphQL layer. So that's why I'm mentioning it like type.field and directly adding the predicates and the nodes here. So I'm adding like Mike, Mike knows C and B, and then Mike has these many interests. And then these, so these are the blank nodes. So this B refer to this node which dgraph creates. It will assign a UID in the back to it, and then it will connect this to this. So similarly, like I'm creating like one node, one to like bunch of nodes of type user, and then assigning them names and etc. Right? So let's just run. Great. So if you look at this JSON response, it did create these many nodes, and these are the UIDs, right? Cool. So let's just, for the sake of it, let's see. Mike knows C and B. Who are C? Robert is B, and Robert doesn't know anyone, so that's a dead end. C is Paul. Who does Paul know? D and E. And who is E? E is Hannah. So shortest path from Mike is via Paul, right? Cool. So shortest path from Mike to Hannah is via Paul. So let's see how does that work. So we have updated the data. Let's go back to dgraph cloud, and let's go back to API Explorer. And you see we have now a separate query degree of separation, right? And this is something which we can now do. So let's remove this, and let's see my dgraph.io and Hannah @dgraph.io. Great. And I want the path and ID. Let's see. Nice. So you see, it did actually find me the shortest path to Hannah via Paul. And this is how now you have like the degree of separation query written as well. So just to like reiterate, what we did was that we added like this particular query which we wanted to support as a special DQL query in the schema itself. And then this gets added into our GraphQL API Explorer and works like any other GraphQL API. Great. Cool. So now we have degree of separation as well under our belt, right? So let's go next. User timeline. This is like one of the most interesting and sort of like a benchmark of different social networks on how do they perform, right? So for instance, TikTok is known for its very captivating timeline or the wall, so to say, right? And then here is something where you want to implement a complicated logic or like be smart about how you want so this how you want your user to experience a social network app which you are building. And a lot of it comes from what kind of timeline you are showing to the user, right? So here again, dgraph provides you a bunch of facility to write those complicated language logic inside in your GraphQL schema so that you can serve it as like a GraphQL request. So let's take a look at that. Okay, so I have this query already built, and I will go over what are the salient features and how we are defining it in this case in a moment, right? So I'll go back here and I'll update this particular query with a different query now. Great. Cool. So this works, right? Yeah. So let's see what's happening here. So query user timeline, this will be the API which we will expose to the GraphQL app. It takes a user email, which is the user who is logged in and we want to fetch his or her timeline. And it would return a bunch of posts. And that's what your timeline or the feed looks like. It's just a bunch of posts. And this is again like your custom DQL, which is basically the logic of how you are generating that timeline, right? So let's take a look. So it takes the user email string. It gets the UID of that person for which we want to fetch the feed. Then it collects the friends of that user. then here it collects the tags of interest. So that person could have like a bunch of interests, and we want to make sure that the feed is aligned with those interests, right? And now we are assigning a bunch of scores to that all the posts, right? So now once we have the friends and once we have the tags of interest, what we are doing here is for all the posts, give me only posts which have a tag which are present in the tags of interest. So give me only the posts which are interesting to this user, and in those posts also only give me those posts which are made by his friends. So now this score essentially is the score of those posts which are of the interest to the user and created by the friend. Now the second is posts which are not of interest but created by the friends. And the third would be the other way around, the posts which are of interest but not created by the friends. So we have these like 3 scores now associated with each post for that particular user, right? So score where the friends and the interest align, scores where the friends align but not the interest, and the score where the interest aligns but not the friends, right? And now we can have like a final score for all the posts, which is essentially a weighted sum of the 3 scores which we calculated. So we give the highest weight to the posts which are of interest and created by friends. Then second, we have posts which are of interest but maybe not created by friends. And finally, we have posts which are created by friends but not of interest, and we assign even lower weight to them. And then this becomes your final score. And yeah, and then the query user timeline, which is essentially the same function which we introduce here, basically gives me all the posts in the descending order of the score so that my timeline looks as I want it to be. So this, let's deploy. This works, and now let's try. Let's go over to the API Explorer. Query user timeline. So let's see how does Mike's timeline look like. And we have title, we have score, we have ID. Yeah, and let's see. Great. So this particular has 0 score. Maybe then let's see. This doesn't tell us much. Great. You see, right? So in here we do have some values. So here there were 2 posts. One of was Avenger Endgame soundtrack and of score 0.8, and then the other was for the musical podcast of 0.5. And you see them in like a decreasing order. Let's see what does Ron have. Again, you have the highest scoring score here, and then you have a bunch of low scoring. So for instance, if we want to see what was Ron interested in, we can take a look at that as well. So let me just do a query. So we have this Ron, and let's query what was Ron interested in. Query. Yeah, I want to filter on email equal to product, and let's see has interest and ID and name. Let's see what is Ron interested in. Yeah, so Ron is interested in finance, news, and Harry Potter, and maybe we didn't have any post from news and finance, and that's why we got the Daniel Radcliffe star post as the top one. So yeah, so for Ron, this timeline kind of works, right? Great. So we now have a way to create the timeline as well, and that everything basically sits here without like even going out anywhere else. So you just have to add more features to your schema, and you will get all the queries out of the box. Now let's go to custom actions. This is something like super interesting. What this tells you is, suppose you have the data in your database, but the kind of action or the business logic which you want to do or perform is not possible within the database, or you want to have like a separate server which kind of returns the query calls when done to your GraphQL API. And this is something where Lambda comes into play. What dgraph does is it gives you a functionality so that you can put in a JavaScript code which acts as your Lambda server. And then you can, whenever a GraphQL API hits your DB and it has like a particular tag to it called Lambda directive, then instead of DB giving you the results, your Lambda would serve you the results. It could obviously talk to the DB as well, but you can do a whole lot of bunch on top of it than just like a DB return call. Like, so let's see it in action. So for instance, one of the use cases, suppose if someone creates a comment over a post which I made, I want to receive an email, right? So let's see how does that work here. So, and I want to receive an email, not just the notification, because we saw that notification we can do via subscription and authorization, but I want to do something more complicated. I want to receive it as an email in my box, right? Cool. So let's see how does that work. Great. So for that, first step again is to go back to our schema and add a Lambda mutation to it. So let's see. You add this type mutation. With a new comment, which would essentially be a signal to the GraphQL layer of dgraph that this is a new mutation which I want to create. And then this Lambda directive is basically tells dgraph, okay, so there should be a Lambda server sitting somewhere and I want to hit that, right? Cool. So this is there, and then I do a deploy. Great. This is good. This is done, right? And now let's go to Lambda. Let me see what I have for you in Lambda. So I have this Lambda.js. So here, if you go on Lambda, you can essentially give your JavaScript code here. So let's see what it does. So it takes like it's a new comment function. It takes some argument in GraphQL, and then it does some mutation in the. So this is essentially the same GraphQL mutation which we usually do. So if you get like a content and the post and the comment, it adds a comment. But apart from that, it also logs here that comment is created and now sending out email too. So this part right now, for the sake of simplicity, we have added like just a console.log. But instead of this, you could have like any complicated function. You could like actually send an email from here, right? So this, so we are just gonna host a Lambda server right here. So I'll do a save, and this is, if you look at here, this is now essentially loading like starting up a server in the background and waiting for it to come up, and then we'll be able to see the log. So this just takes a bunch of time. I think in the meanwhile, we can take some questions, Aman, or do you want to pitch in as to where you think Lambdas come useful?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, so guys, so when we say Lambda, so what dgraph notices that when people starts to build application, they just don't build one application which just interacts with DB. They have to build multiple systems out of it, and all these multiple systems, they are just interconnected with each other, and they have to perform these different operations. And we realize that in many those cases, we don't actually have the need to actually build the complete architecture. And that's where we have found that Lambdas to be really useful, where you just apply your business logic, you add your different business logics, and it will just run. It's a simple JavaScript code. You just write your functions, and that will just perform all your business logic, which isn't possible via DB or yeah. So it actually helps people to save so much time over development, those architecture. And the other benefit which I really like is it's in JavaScript, so both your front end and back end could be in JavaScript, and you don't have to invent a third wheel in your organization where you are building with new language and stuff like that.
Thanks, Aman. I think in the meanwhile, our server is up. It's listening quite intently on 8686. So let's take it for a spin. So this is our script, and let's go back to our API Explorer. The one thing which I really like about right now, like working with dgraph Cloud, is I don't have to go anywhere outside. I can just update my schema here. I can just create my APIs, and then I can also launch a Lambda server. So I mean, this is like just like a one-stop shop for me right now. Got it. So let's see. I want to create a commit, right? Mutation, new commit, right? So let's see. It takes like a content, it takes a post ID, it takes a timestamp, and it takes a user ID. So let's see. So content is for coming, and what was the post ID which we created for the welcoming
0x6.
post? I think 0x6. So this is 0x6, right?
Right.
Correct. So this is basically the welcome post which we created. And if you remember, this was created by the user Anurag. Okay, and then this is, I think this comment, let's say, is being commented by Aman, whose user ID was UX0x5. Is that correct, Aman?
Yes.
Right. And then let's say some timestamp. This could be like any number. And yeah, so let's just see. Great. So a new comment has been created. Actually, yeah, a new comment has been created, 0x23. So let's see what happened to our Lambda server. Wow. So it says that the comment has been created and now sending out email to Aman. So I think in this script which we have written, it basically sends email to the person who wrote the comment. So yeah, so essentially that's why it prints it like this. And yeah, so this works. So this kind of like worked, and now our Lambda server is posted and serving request to new comment GraphQL API. Thanks. I think yeah, that was fun. I think as a recap, we took a look at how to build notifications using subscription and authorization. We took a look at how to use shortest path queries. We took a look at custom DQL to build timeline and lambdas to build custom actions. Yeah, so I think with these tools and using dgraph Cloud, you can essentially start out building a social network with a cool front end, and you can just have your backend in dgraph Cloud because it gives you all out of box for these things. I think that's all I had, and I'm open to questions, Aman.
Yeah, thanks everyone for lots of questions and discussion in the Q&A. I tried.
Hey, Manish, you're not audible. Are you?
I think something happened.
Okay. So, are there some live questions we want to take?
Yeah, we are answering them, and all looks good till now.
Do we want to take some questions live, like here?
Yeah. So like
and we have
last
like
two,
a shiny UI for Ratel. Yeah, I mean Ratel
Right.
is something which I really like as well. So I think I support this motion.
Yeah. So there is one question like, what is the main difference between custom and Lambda? So
Okay.
yeah.
So Aman, why don't you answer?
Yeah, so custom are actually a way to run DQL queries with GraphQL. So what you are getting is you are getting the power of DQL, but at the same time, the type system of GraphQL. With Lambda, it's more a kind like a action-based system where whenever someone hits a query, you call an external server, which is your Lambda, and Lambda will process these requests, do some modification, apply your business logic, and returns it to the GraphQL. So with GraphQL as an interface, as a database interface, you are getting all the type security and type systems. And at the same time, with custom and Lambda, you are getting the power of DQL as a query, and your business an opportunity to write business logic which are not easy to write on DB, or sometimes you have to spin up the whole architecture. So yeah, that's the main difference.
Yeah, so custom DQL, like Aman told, is basically used if you want to write DQL function inside GraphQL. Whereas with Lambda server, you can do a whole lot of extra stuff there.
Yeah.
Not just
there is one
right.
other question, like I hear during the presentation, lot of emphasis on JS. Our implementation has lot of DB access and Java as well to the schema. So yeah, so we do support major languages like Java, Dgo, Python, and I think we have JavaScript and everything. Apart from that, if there is if the API is not available, we do have our HTTP APIs and gRPC ports open. So, and there are a few open community versions also which people are managing. Like we have one in Scala also. So yeah, you can use that and just play around with dgraph. Yeah, there is one more. How are we evaluating the stability, security, interruption? What's the testing mechanism to evaluate the stability of the release? Yeah, so we have a proper process around evaluating the stability of the release. We have internal hackathons where the whole organization just jump on the release and try to break it. And we have a proper way to all the cherry picks, all the merges happens only after all the unit test and integration test passes. So yeah, we have pretty, we do security scans and everything. And yeah, when we are sure that yeah, it's there are no corruptions, there are no security issues and nothing else, then only we release those versions. All right, so I see there are no other questions. So there is one, any integrations to Kafka style consumers. So yeah, we just released 2103 with the support of CDC. And for the first consumer, we are supporting Kafka. All right. So there is one more. Is there any relationship between dgraph and time series data? Not so much, but yeah, if we can imagine anything, in terms of graph where we are nodes, we have edges and stuff like that, then yeah, of course, you can build that out with dgraph, and yeah. Great. Okay. All right. Perfect.
Everyone, I think while we end this webinar, there would be a link for separate feedback and what you want to see again, and and a survey. Feel free to fill that up, and please come tomorrow for as well. We have a lot of good talks lined up, and it's gonna be an awesome couple of days.
Yeah. So yeah, guys, it's been really pleasure conducting this workshop for you. We really enjoyed sharing this we have built in past few months. I hope you guys will experiment out on it and play around dgraph more. Yeah, fill out the surveys, and yeah, we'll be happy to do it.
Hope to see you
better next time.
Hope to see all of you tomorrow as well.
Yeah. Thanks again. Bye-bye.
Bye. Yes, bye.